The Formula One circus has arrived in Singapore, and if you were expecting a quiet weekend, you can forget about it. The first day of practice at Marina Bay was pure chaos. We had fire in the pits, a completely unexpected leader, and crashes that raise huge questions for the rest of the event. What does all this mean for the race and for the championship fight? That's exactly what we're going to break down right now, detail by detail. Let's start with the drama, which arrived early and with full force. The first practice session had barely begun, and Alex Albon's Williams was already living a nightmare. As he returned to the pits, a terrifying scene unfolded, smoke and fire billowing from the car's rear brakes. The team described the incident as a hardware issue, but in practice, the result was disastrous for Albon. He was out for the rest of the session. Can you imagine the frustration? On a street circuit as challenging as Singapore, every minute of practice is gold. Albon could do nothing but watch from the sidelines as his rivals gathered data and mileage. The image of him, clearly uncomfortable, trying to wave the acrid smoke away from his helmet, showed the extent of the damage. For Williams, who was riding high after Carlos Sainz's podium in Baku, it was a harsh reality check and a race against time to get the car ready for the second practice. While Williams dealt with its own fire, the track began to heat up. Being a daytime session, in conditions that won't be repeated in qualifying and the race at night, the session was more of a large-scale data-gathering exercise. We saw lap times consistently drop, with drivers like Lando Norris and Max Verstappen taking turns at the top on hard and medium tires. But what does this really mean? In Singapore, track evolution is brutal. The asphalt rubbers in, and the car gets faster with every lap. That's why the initial times serve more as a baseline than as a true indicator of performance. The real surprise, however, was saved for the end. When the soft tires finally made their appearance, the timesheet began to change dramatically. Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari jumped to the top, showing the Maranello team arrived strong. Verstappen responded, slotting in right behind him. But no one, absolutely no one, expected what happened in the final minutes. Fernando Alonso, with his Aston Martin, set a spectacular lap and simply vaulted to first place, beating Leclerc by a tenth and a half. It was the first time in over 2 years that Alonso had topped a practice session. Now the big question is this performance for real? Did Aston Martin find something, or was it just perfect timing, taking full advantage of peak track evolution? It's undeniable that Alonso, a master of street circuits, extracted everything from the car. He even set the fastest first sector again on his final attempt. But we need to be cautious. Behind him, Verstappen and the new Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton were very close, showing that the fight at the top is tighter than ever. The championship leader Oscar Piastri also stayed in the mix, in fifth, keeping an eye on everything. He even complained about Hamilton on the radio, dropping one of those classic sarcastic lines. "I hope Ferrari invents mirrors one day." The rivalry is palpable. Analyzing these details, understanding what's behind each time on the board, is what makes the difference for a true Formula One fan. And that's exactly our goal here at Formula News USA, to bring you information with depth, going beyond the surface level. If you enjoy this kind of content that digs deeper, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're not yet part of our community, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any analysis like this. Your support is crucial for our growth. And so we can get an idea of how far our content is reaching, let us know in the comments below what city you're watching from. It helps us understand our audience, and more importantly, it signals to YouTube that our content is relevant, helping it get recommended to more F1 fans just like us. If the first practice session left us wondering about Alonso's lead, the second session, now under the lights of Marina Bay, traded surprise for pure chaos. This night session is crucial as it simulates the exact conditions for qualifying and the race, so all eyes were on it. And folks, what a crazy session it was. We had 3 accidents, 2 red flags, and a mess in the pits that left everyone stunned. First, a huge sigh of relief for Williams. The mechanics did a heroic job and managed to repair Alex Albon's car just in time, only 5 minutes before the start of FP2. A well-deserved thank you to them. In the beginning, as the track was still ramping up, we saw a few different names at the top, like Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli, but soon the natural order of things began to take shape. McLaren showed its strength, with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri trading fastest times and putting themselves on top. It looked like we were in for an interesting internal duel, but then chaos decided to join the party. The first red flag came from George Russell. The Mercedes driver simply lost control under braking for turn 16 and went straight on, crashing nose first into the barrier. The impact destroyed the car's front wing, which was left behind on the track as Russell limped back to the pits. His radio message was short and intriguing. That was weird. This phrase raises suspicion. Was it a driver error or a car failure? Either way, Russell's session was over. For Mercedes, it was a massive blow, losing an entire car's worth of data collection in a vital session. The red flag lasted for 11 minutes for barrier repairs, precious time that all the other teams lost as well. The track had barely gone green when just 5 minutes later there was another heavy impact. This time it was Liam Lawson of Racing Bulls. Exiting the second-to-last corner, he made a mistake and hit the wall hard, damaging the entire right side of his car. The impact was so severe that the front right wheel came off. Lawson tried to bring the car back, but he had to stop on the track, forcing the second red flag. Another 11-minute stoppage. By this point, the clock was ticking down, and valuable practice time was rapidly disappearing, cranking up the pressure on every team. When the action finally resumed with only 13 minutes left, the desperation to set a fast lap was visible. And that's when we saw one of the most bizarre scenes of the season. In the pit lane, Ferrari unsafely released Charles Leclerc right into the path of a passing Lando Norris. A collision was unavoidable. Leclerc hit Norris, pushing the McLaren into the pit wall and breaking the front wing of Lando's car. A basic and costly mistake from Ferrari, which was obviously placed under investigation by the stewards. We'll talk more about the consequences of that, but what a mess. In the midst of all this mayhem, who came out on top? The championship leader, Oscar Piastri. The Australian from McLaren managed to stay out of trouble, put in a clean lap on soft tires, and ended the day as the fastest driver. A clear message to his rivals. Even in chaos, he is focused and has the pace to win. Ishaq Hadjar from Racing Bulls surprised with the second fastest time, and Max Verstappen closed out the top three, showing that Red Bull is definitely in the fight. Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari still had a scare, grazing the wall, and a justifiably frustrated Lando Norris finished only in fifth. This messy practice session left more questions than answers, and a mountain of work for the teams overnight. After the dust settled on one of the most chaotic practice days of the year, all attention turned to the drivers' reactions and, of course, to the stewards' room. And while many focused on the confusion, Max Verstappen, despite finishing third, sent a quiet but very powerful message to his rivals in the title fight. Verstappen praised Red Bull's start to the weekend, saying that the feeling in the car was very similar to what he had in Monza and Baku. And what happened in those two races? He won. That is a giant warning sign for the competition. Max said the car had no major issues and that while they need a bit more pace for qualifying, the foundation is very solid. In practical terms, what does this mean? It means Red Bull doesn't need to turn their setup upside down. They are in a very good performance window, needing only fine-tuning. This sense of calm contrasts sharply with the chaos seen in other garages. While some are scrambling to fix crashed cars, Verstappen and Red Bull are focused on optimizing a package that's already a proven winner. And let's not forget, Singapore is the only track on the current calendar where Max has yet to win. He is hungry to close that gap in his impressive resume. Now let's talk about that bizarre incident in the pit lane. As expected, Ferrari did not get away with it. The team was summoned by the stewards, and the verdict was a hefty €10,000 fine for the unsafe release of Charles Leclerc. And there's an important detail here. In the official statement, the stewards noted that the breach warrants a more severe penalty than previously applied. In other words, the FIA wanted to make it clear that this type of mistake is unacceptable. The investigation concluded that the team was entirely at fault. The mechanic responsible for releasing the car misjudged the situation, overlooked the approaching Norris, and gave unclear instructions to Leclerc, who, from his position, had no way of seeing the McLaren coming. Leclerc escaped an individual penalty, but for Ferrari, the financial fine is perhaps the least of their worries. Such a basic error in a routine procedure shakes confidence and exposes a serious operational flaw at a crucial moment in the championship. And what did the drivers involved have to say? Charles Leclerc admitted there was a bit of confusion. He explained that because of the red flags, everyone was in a huge rush to get back on track and use the final minutes. He somewhat defended the mechanic, saying that the presence of both McLarens leaving at the same time might have caused the miscalculation. Leclerc summed up the day as very messy, but tried to remain optimistic, stating that the pace is in the car. On the other side, Lando Norris was visibly downcast, and not just because of the accident. The Brit was outpaced by his teammate Oscar Piastri in both sessions and made a worrying statement. He said he is missing all the feelings he had last year when he dominated and won in Singapore. He summed up the day as a bad day, admitting he didn't do a very good job. Seeing a driver of Norris's caliber so uncomfortable with the car while his teammate is flying is a sign that something isn't clicking for him. Regarding the crash, he downplayed its impact on his performance, saying only that it cost the team a bit of money, which is a shame. His frustration seemed to be much more with his own pace than with Ferrari's mistake. So, what can we conclude after such a frantic first day in Singapore? Friday has left us with a fascinating and wide-open scenario. On one hand, we have a championship leader, Oscar Piastri, who is flying and looks untouchable. On the other, a four-time champion, Max Verstappen, who didn't top the charts, but whose confidence and confidence are almost frightening. And in the middle of it all, we have a fast but clumsy Ferrari and a Fernando Alonso ready to surprise everyone. Let's piece this puzzle together. McLaren is experiencing a stunning duality. Piastri seems to have found the perfect setup for Marina Bay. He was fast, consistent, and most importantly, made no mistakes amidst the chaos. He is, without a doubt, the favorite for pole position after what we saw. But the other half of the garage is living a drama. Lando Norris, last year's winner, is lost. His frustration is palpable. Can he and his engineers find a solution overnight? Or does his struggle signal a vulnerability in the McLaren car that Piastri, with his driving style, is managing to overcome? This internal battle in the grid's strongest team is one of the hottest storylines of the weekend. At Red Bull, the key word is tranquility. Verstappen's third place in FP2 doesn't reflect the team's true potential. Their long experience tells us that they often focus more on race pace during free practice. Max's confidence that the car has a good baseline, needing only fine-tuning, is a direct message: do not underestimate us. In a long and grueling race like Singapore's, having a well-balanced and predictable car on Sunday is worth more than a flying lap on Friday. Verstappen is on the hunt, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. Ferrari, meanwhile, is the great unknown. The car has speed, that much was clear from Leclerc and Hamilton. They have the potential to fight for the front row. The issue, as is often the case, isn't the hardware, but the software. The disastrous error in the pit lane raises a red flag about the team's execution under pressure. Singapore does not forgive mistakes, whether on the track or in the pits. Ferrari needs a perfect Saturday and Sunday to turn their pace into a top result. If they can, they could completely shake up the fight between McLaren and Red Bull. And we absolutely cannot discount Fernando Alonso. What he did in FP1 was a flash of genius, and even in FP2 he remained strong in fourth. With his experience and Aston Martin's apparent good form, he is the perfect candidate to be a chaos agent, capable of stealing important positions in qualifying and the race. With all this on the table, tomorrow's qualifying session becomes one of the most important events of the season. Overtaking in Singapore is one of the most difficult tasks on the calendar. Starting at the front is more than half the battle for victory. The pressure is at its peak, and after a Friday full of crashes and interruptions, the drivers will have to find the limit quickly. This is the stage set for the rest of the weekend in Singapore, a battle that promises to be intense, strategic, and above all, unpredictable. Now I want to hear your opinion. Who do you think will take pole position? Leave your prediction in the comments below. Let's debate. And if you enjoyed this complete analysis that brought you up to speed on everything that happened, don't forget to leave a like and share this video with a friend who is also addicted to Formula One. If you really enjoyed our work and want to give some extra support, you can use the Super Thanks button. Hitting that button is a great way to show your appreciation and helps the channel immensely. And finally, if you've watched this far and you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribing isn't just about clicking a button, it's about becoming part of a community that demands more than just headlines. It ensures you get these deep dived right in your feed the second they drop, so you're always ahead of the curve. Hitting that subscribe button is the single best way to support what we're building here, and to guarantee you never miss a moment of the action. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to us. Join the Formula News USA family. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.